But soft, what light through yonder webcam breaks? It is my students, and they are the sun. Oh, good morning. Happy Wednesday to you. Nice to see you. Hope you've been staying dry the last few days there with all the rain that's been going on. Now, it's supposed to be nice the next few though, so we got that to look forward to, don't you know? So, here we are, finishing Act 4 via webcam, YouTube, blog, etc. Hope you guys are keeping up. And, I'm making them. It takes me forever to make them, so please watch them. But, as long as you're reading and doing the study guide, doing your writer's notebooks as we go, that is great. So I hope it's working out for you with all your classes and with this one. If it's not working out with this one, let me know. And I'll see if I need to clarify things or explain things. You can always reach out to me through Remind or through my Cobb County email. Try not to use the Gmail that you shared your writer's notebook to, just because I don't really check that one all that much. Whereas I check the Cobb County one like all the time. And it also shoots off a little sound, which I'm sure you've heard in class. So anyway, we are going to get started reading Act 4, Scene 5 of Romeo and Juliet. We start out with the nurse trying to wake up Juliet. Remember, Juliet's already taken her potion. She is in a state very, very close to death, but she is sleeping. But they think she's dead. So watch how nurse's demeanor changes, how her mood changes. The nurse begins the scene trying to wake Juliet. Her language in lines 4 through 11 contain playfully sexual double meanings, as always, about Juliet's wedding night. But the nurse's mood changes as she comes to believe that Juliet is dead. I'm no actor, but I'll try to convey it as best I can. Her language now is full of alarmed, brief exclamations and cries after she realizes what's happened. Okay, so we're going to look at the way that Nurse reacts to Juliet's death. We're also going to look at the way that Lord Capulet reacts and the way that Lady Capulet reacts. And it's also interesting the way that Friar Lawrence reacts. So let's take a look, and we're going to read this scene, and then we'll be done for the day. It's Wednesday, Xbox Day. A little shorter. We're just doing this one scene, and then we'll talk a little bit about the scene as a whole. But other than that, we should be out of here pretty quick. Okay? Cheers. Let me find where we're at. But before we get into this one was running around making all kinds of noise, so I figured I'd bring her back over. This is Harper again. Harper Lee. She, I was going to try to show you the frogs. So I have 2 fire-bellied toads, I was trying to get him out of the tank. He just wasn't cooperating. So she was running around, so I thought, hey, Harper, come on up. Say hello to the kiddos. All right. Oh, she's more girl. All right. So, Act 4, Scene 1. Nurse. I got it pulled up here. Let's go ahead and zoom in and get going. Okay. So, nurse is calling her. She says, "Mistress! What mistress? Juliet! Fast! I warned her she." Fast, by that she means fast asleep. Fast! I warned her she's fast asleep. I guarantee she's fast asleep. She says, "Why, lamb! Why, lady! Fie, you slug a bed! Why, love, I say! Madam! Sweetheart! Why, bride!" "What? Not a word? You take your pennyworths now, sleep for a week, for the next night, I warrant, the county perith has set up his rest, that you shall rest but little." God forgive me. Pennyworths, what she means there is what little sleep you can get. Like, you can get a penny worth of sleep now, because for the next night you're not going to be sleeping, because Count Perith has set up his rest. That means decided that you shall rest but little. And she no doubt laughs and says, "God forgive me, Mary and amen. How sound is she asleep? I must needs wake her. Madam! 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 Aye, let the county take you in your bed. He'll fright you up, in fact, will it not be?" And she opens the bed curtains and gets a better look at Juliet. And she says, "What, dressed and in your clothes and down again? I must needs wake you. Lady! 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 Alas! Alas! Help! Help! My lady's dead! Oh, what a day that ever I was born! Some aqua vitae! Oh, my lord! My lady! Enter Lady Capulet. Aqua vitae, again, is the liquor that the nurse is quite fond of, and she's always calling for it. Some aqua vitae! Oh. Enter Lady Capulet. Lady Capulet, what noise is here? Nurse, oh, lamentable day. Lamentable means, mournful, very sorrowful day. Lady Capulet, what is the matter? Look, look. Oh, heavy day, the nurse says. Interesting to contrast the reactions with the different people to Juliet's death. Okay, hold on one second. And we see now from Lady Capulet that she is, her reaction is differing. I mean, the last time she says, do what you want. And I'm wash my hands of it. She basically washed her hands of Juliet when she opposed Lord Capulet's wishes. And now Lady Capulet is actually showing some emotion, some mournful expressions. Lady Capulet says, oh me, my child, my only life, revive, look up, or I will die with thee. Help! Help! Call help! No doubt cradling Juliet's body on stage. Of course, the director would have all kinds of decisions as to what everyone is doing in this particular scene. Enter Lord Capulet. For shame! Bring Juliet forth. Her lord is come. She's dead. Deceased. She's dead. Alack the day. Lady Capulet. Alack the day. She's dead. She's dead. She's dead. Lady Capulet says. Lord Capulet. Let me see her. I like how he's like, stupid woman. Let me see her. I'll decide if she's dead. Oh, yep. Okay, she's dead. He says, let me see her. Out. Alas. She's cold. Her blood is settled. Her joints are stiff. Life and these lips have long been separated. Death lies on her like an untimely frost upon the sweetest flower of all the fields. Beautiful poetic language there. Throws in a simile. Death is like an untimely frost on the sweetest flower. His only daughter, Juliet. Nurse says, oh, lamentable day. Lady Capulet echoes her with, oh, woeful time. Capulet, death, that hath ta'en her hence to make me wail, ties up my tongue and will not let me speak. Capulet says that he has been struck dumb by this. Enter Friar Lawrence, County Paris, and the musicians, which Paris was responsible for bringing the musicians, remember? Friar Lawrence comes in. Come, is the bride ready to go to church? Some callous, some cold-hearted stuff here from Friar Lawrence. He's just like, oh, acting casual. Oh, is the bride ready? Come on down, everybody. He knows what's really going on. So think about what Friar Lawrence is saying in this scene and what Friar Lawrence knows, and it definitely gives you a different impression of Friar Lawrence. So he says, come, is the bride ready to go to church? Capulet, ready to go, but never to return. O son, probably takes Paris, the night before thy wedding day hath death lain with thy wife. There she lies. Flower she was, deflowered by him. Okay, kind of gross double entendre there about her being deflowered, but she's been deflowered by death. Death has taken her youth, her maidenhood, rather than Paris. He continues that simile, or metaphor. I think it is more so a metaphor. And personification, for that matter. So he continues, he says, death is my son-in-law. Death is my heir. My daughter he hath wedded. I will die and leave him all. Life, living, all is death's. Paris. Have I thought long to see this morning's face, and doth it give me such a sight as this? So, notice Paris's reaction. Paris is all about himself. He's like, oh, I've been waiting for this morning, and this is what I have to deal with on the morning of my wedding. I can't believe it. Kind of humorous. Lady Capulet continues, accursed, unhappy, wretched, hateful day, most miserable hour that e'er time saw in lasting labor of his pilgrimage. But one poor and loving child, but one thing to rejoice and solace in, and cruel death hath catched it from my sight. So again, Lady Capulet emphasizes that this was their only child, this one, she repeats it over and over again, this one thing to love, this one child, and cruel death hath catched it from my sight. Nurse continues, oh, woeful day, most lamentable day, most woeful day that ever I did yet behold. Oh day, oh day, oh day, oh hateful day, never was seen so black a day as this. Oh woeful day, Nurse says. Paris, beguiled, divorced, wronged, spited, slain, most detestable death, by thee beguiled, by cruel thee quite overthrown. O love, O life, not life, but love and death. All right. Notice all those adjectives that he's using in that first string of adjectives. Beguiled, divorced, wronged, spited, slain. The only one that has to do with Juliet is that she's been slain. It's Paris who's been beguiled or fooled, who's been divorced and that he was going to be married and is now. He's been wronged. He's been spited. Slain, Juliet is. So, again, Paris is just thinking all about himself, about how his day was just ruined by this. Shows that he did not love Juliet, obviously. He loved what Juliet made him become, what Juliet was going to bring to him, not Juliet herself. Lord Capulet, despised, distressed, hated, martyred, killed, uncomfortable time, why camest thou now to murder our solemnity? O child, my soul, not my child. Dead art thou. Alack, my child is dead, and with my child my joys are buried. So his child was his joy. She was everything to him. He says that she was his soul. He says it's his soul that has died here, not my child. Okay, so very sincere expression of mourning and grief. With my child, my joys are buried. Notice how he kind of echoes Paris's series of adjectives with an exclamation point as a sentence. Interesting. Friar Lawrence, peace, ho, for shame. Confusion's cure lives not in these confusions. Heaven and yourself had part in this fair maid. Now heaven hath all. Friar Lawrence is trying to be a comforter, right? That's his job. He's a priest. And he talks about that heaven and yourself, Lord and Lady Capulet, had part in this fair maid. You guys, made her. Heaven brought her soul to you, but now heaven has everything. You have nothing. Lord and Lady Capulet, heaven hath all. He says, and all the better is it for the maid. This is still Friar Lawrence. Your part in her you could not keep from death, but heaven keeps his part in eternal life. The most you sought was her promotion, for 'twas your heaven she should be advanced. And weep ye now, seeing she is advanced above the clouds, as high as heaven itself? Okay, so Friar Lawrence says you wanted her to have everything, you wanted her to have a heavenly life, and now that she has advanced to heaven, she is above the clouds, as high as heaven itself. Basically, rejoice? Not exactly what he's saying, but he says, oh, in this love, you love your child so ill that you run mad, seeing that she is well. She's not well married that lives married long, but she's best married that dies married young. Dry up your tears, and stick your rosemary on this fair corpse, and, as the custom is, and in her best array, bear her to church. For though some nature bids us all lament, yet nature's tears are reason's merriment. Again, this was some pretty poetic language that Friar Lawrence uses here. Some beautiful language, but just so that we can understand it, it sounds a lot more like what a priest would be saying in such a manner, in such a time. If we read the modern text, he says, "She is in a better place. You could not prevent her from dying some day, but heaven will give her eternal life. The most you hoped for was for her to marry wealthy and rise up the social ladder. That was your idea of heaven. And now you cry, even though she has risen up above the clouds as high as heaven itself. Oh, in this love, you love your child so badly that you go mad, even though she is in heaven. It is best to marry well and die young, better than to be married for a long time. Dry up your tears and put your rosemary on this beautiful corpse, and, in accordance with custom, carry her to the church in her best clothes. It's natural for us to shed tears for her, but the truth is, we should be happy for her," Friar Lawrence says. Standard preacher fare, what a minister would say. Capulet says, original text, "All things that we ordained festival turn from their office to black funeral." So basically everything that we had decided was going to be for the wedding reception is now going to be for her black funeral. They've turned their office, they've turned their position into black funeral from festival following the wedding. It says, "Our instruments to melancholy bells." Now he's getting details about the different things that were for the wedding that have been transformed into a funeral. So bear with him. "Our instruments to melancholy bells, our wedding cheer to a sad burial feast. Our solemn hymns to sullen dirges change, our bridal flowers serve for a buried corse, and all things change them to the contrary." All of them have been changed to the contrary, to their opposites. So from wedding to funeral. Friar Lawrence, who again is a pretty good actor as far as they know, because he is not letting them know at all that there might be some relief on the horizon, that she's not really dead. Friar Lawrence says, "Sir, go you in, and madam go with him, and go, Sir Paris. Everyone prepare to follow this fair course into her grave. The heavens do lour upon you for some ill, move them no more by crossing their high will." So again, basically, if we look at the modern text, the heavens hang threateningly over you for some past sin. Don't disturb the heavens anymore by trying to go against heaven's will. So he puts it on them, maybe a subtle reference to their feud, because that is really why she's laying there, right? It's the feud that has brought them to this point. Okay. Next, we're going to have kind of a weird scene. It's a little bit out of place with the... Oh, that's Lily. Lily likes to howl. With the first musician and these musicians who are talking about, hey, they were all ready to play their instruments for their wedding, and now they're not going to. So it's kind of a weird out of place scene. A lot of productions cut it out, and they end with Friar Lawrence's speech right there. But we'll read it just for the hell of it. Act 4, we're going to go forward. So the first musician says, "Faith, we may put up our pipes and be gone." Okay. The nurse says, "Honest good fellows, put up, for well you know this is a pitiful case." This is a sad case. And nurse exits as well. And so nurse had said this is a pitiful case. And the first musician says, "I, by my troth, the case may be amended." Maybe a little bit of truth, a little bit of verbal irony there. And Peter enters. Peter's going to be messing with the musicians a little bit, making jokes, kind of showing his position over the musicians, because the musicians he's a servant. They're servant level as far as class, and he's going to try to push his way around. It's a very minor scene. Peter says, "Musicians, oh musicians, heart's ease, heart's ease. Oh, and you will have me live, play heart's ease." So, first musician, "Why heart's ease?" "Oh, musicians, because my heart itself plays, my heart is full. Oh, play me some merry dump to comfort me." It's an oxymoron, a merry dump. A dump is a sad tune. So he says, "Sing me a merry dump, a merry sad tune to comfort me." First musician says, "Not a dump way, 'tis no time to play now." "Peter, you will not then?" First musician, no. Peter, I will then give it you soundly. Like, oh, give it to you. So what will you give us? No money, on my faith, but the gleek I will give you the minstrel. So he'll call him a minstrel, which he is, because he's a music player. He says, then I will give you the serving creature. He calls him a servant, as he is. Again, very minor scene. Hey, Harper. Then Peter says, then I will lay the servant creature's dagger on your pate. I will carry no crotchets, or ray you, or floor you. Do you note me? Sorry, I get a little cockney with the servants. First musician, are you re us and fa us? You note us. Okay, so, you know, the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do is what they're referring to. Saying, do you note me? But those are also notes. It's a pun. Oh, how hilarious. Juliet's dead. Second musician, pray you, put up your dagger and put out your wit. Peter, then have at you with my wit. I will dry beat you with an iron wit and put up my iron dagger. Answer me like men. And then Peter sings, when gripe and grief the heart doth wound, and doleful dumps the mind, oppressed the music with her silver sound. Why silver sound? Why music with her silver sound? What say you, Simon Catling? Marry, sir, because silver hath a sweet sound. Prates. What say you, Hugh Rebick? Second musician, I say silver sound, because musicians sound for silver. Prates too. What say you, James Soundpost? Faith, I know not what to say. Okay. Again, a whole lot of nonsense in this scene. Out of place. Well, most directors got it. But this thing about prates means nonsensical chatter. Prates means nonsensical chatter. So he's like, nonsense. What say you, James Soundpost? By the way, these names, it could be, they're all pieces of, well, let me just read the footnote. It says, Peter calls the musicians by the names of parts of their instruments. Do you think that these are their actual names, or is Peter once more insulting them, basically boiling them down to what they play? Anyway. The third musician, Faith, I know not what to say. Okay. Peter, oh, I cry you mercy. You are the singer. I will say for you. It is music with her silver sound, because musicians have no gold for sounding. Hilarious. Musicians are poor. He sings, the music with her silver sound with speedy help doth lend redress. And Peter exits probably as he's singing that song. First musician, what a pestilent knave is this same. Hang him, Jack. Come, Will in here. Tarry for the mourners, and stay for dinner. Basically, wait for the mourners until dinner is served, and then we're going to get out of here. Okay? So they are going to stay for the feast, because, hey, why not? Musicians are poor, you get food where you can, especially when it's from the rich Capulets. Many productions of Act 4, it says in my book, especially in the 18th and 19th centuries, they added a funeral procession after Act 4. Instead of this whole scene with the musicians and Peter, they would put a funeral procession there. Wordless, basically, just all the Capulet family led by Friar Lawrence as they conduct a funeral procession or a funeral march for Juliet. But it's not in the original text, but they used to. Okay, so as we're looking back at Act 4, think about this. This was Juliet's act, right? Romeo was not in it at all. So there's a focus on Juliet. I'm going to read right from my book here. It says, Romeo does not appear in Act 4. Shakespeare keeps the dramatic focus tightly on Juliet throughout. Even in Death, in Scene 5, she remains the center of other characters' attention. Not only that, she becomes an increasingly isolated figure. By the end of the act, she is hiding things even from the nurse for the first time in the play. Consider all the scenes in turn, and it asked me to have you guys write a paragraph, but I'm not going to do that because I'm kind. Consider all the scenes. Stop, Harper. Chewing on the dining room chairs, little scamp. It says, consider all the scenes in turn, then write a paragraph on each one, identifying how Juliet is central to it, reflecting on her isolation, and explaining how this adds to the dramatic impact of the scene. She gets increasingly isolated. Focus on how tension is increased, and how the pressure relentlessly builds on Juliet and the decisions and choices she must make, to the point where she says it's the dagger or the poison, or the potion. It's not poison per se. I guess it is. But it's not poison that kills, it's just poison that puts you to sleep. So keep Romeo in mind. What was Romeo doing during all this time in Act 4? Although he doesn't appear, my book also says some productions use staging devices to remind the audience of his presence in the background of the play. For example, there might be an image or prop visible throughout the act that clearly links with Romeo. Whether that's a good idea or not, it's just something some directors have done. Okay. Tons of dramatic irony in this scene. Lots of verbal irony, especially from Juliet. So it's honestly my least favorite scene, but excuse me, act. I like the other acts more, but this one it definitely moves the story along and gives some great amount of tension for Juliet. All right, next we're going to read Act 5, Scene 1, and there are only 3 scenes in Act 5, and that will be it. So then we're going to finish. After that, I'm going to have you guys do your own film study. So that will mom and dad will say, what did you have to do for lit today? You say, I had to watch a movie, which actually happens in real lit class, right? So that's going to be next week. Probably 3 of the days I'm going to be asking you to pick your version of Romeo and Juliet to watch, and you're just going to write a little something about it. Not too crucial. But my favorite is the one with Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes. Baz Luhrmann was the director. Lots of people love the Franco Zeffirelli version. It's probably the closest to Shush. Sorry. It's closest to the original text, the Zeffirelli version. There's also a newer version with Haley Steinfeld and Douglas Booth from 2013 that you can actually get on YouTube. So if you don't want to drop the $3 on Amazon to rent the Leo DiCaprio version or whichever version you want, there is a free version on YouTube, the one with Haley Steinfeld and Douglas Booth. Okay, but that's next week after we finish. I want to finish reading it since this is just how we've ended up doing it. We're going to read the whole play, and then you guys can watch the whole play as a film study independently. All right. I hope you guys have a wonderful Wednesday. Keep it real. I know you will. Try not to play too many video games. They'll rat your eyes out. Just kidding. Not that I needed to say that. But, why not? Just kind of stretching this video out. You still watching? You still watching? There's Harper. Harper's right there. She's up in the window looking all cute. Yeah. Lily's over here. Bella's down there. Bella's too big to bring up. But now I'm just rambling. So I guess I will end the video. Yeah, okay. It is time. Adios. Come on. Okay, and now I just want pause. I'm not even doing this on purpose. All right.